good, everybody? My name is Silas from silasbeats.com, and today I wanted to speak about record labels. I have videos out. I know I've been putting out videos for a long time. Well, I've been a part of videos and conversations where I've spoken quite strongly about record labels and how I feel they fit in today's music climate. I thought maybe I just, put something together just to kind of stamp what it is that I feel about record labels right now. So previously, I really hated them. I really didn't feel anybody needed a record label at any point in their career. I felt as though all all deals were a mess. All deals were just not great. That kind of turned into being okay with certain deals, but understanding that for the most part, most deals are still just going to try and rip you off. Currently, I still feel like, in terms of record labels, it's still a no-go zone, especially if you are just starting out. So you've just come up with a couple of tracks, you've tried to get your career off the ground, you might have shot one or two music videos, and now you're kind of starting to see a little bit of a fan base emerging. I still wouldn't recommend going for a record label at that point. I still feel like at that point there's still a lot of groundwork to do. There's still work in terms of developing your catalog, in terms of reaching out and building the network, so that should anything go wrong. The issue for me is that once you are in a record deal and you are sitting there and you're creating music for this for this record label, and you're working through that, you kind of need to have some kind of foundation. Need to be grounded in what it is that you believe in terms of the music that you're making. You need to be grounded in terms of your knowledge of the music industry. These are two things I don't think people will have after having done a couple of tracks and put out one or two videos. I really don't believe that that's the case. I believe that more time needs to be put into just figuring stuff out, trying things, buying equipment, learning how to get a bit of production in, learning how to negotiate your own performances, learning how to do a little bit of that. Learn how to do it for yourself, so that eventually, once someone is doing it for you, you understand what a good day at the office is, you understand what a bad day at the office is, and you're able to set your expectations right. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who have said that they believe that so and so is not doing enough. But when I then ask them what they believe that person should be doing, whether it's an artist manager, whether it be, I don't know, record label, whoever it is, they're not 100% sure what the other person needs to be doing. And that's just purely because they've never been in that role themselves. They've never gotten themselves a gig. They've never, they've never found themselves a booking. They've just accepted that someone else is going to do it. And if it's not happening a certain amount of times in a day, that is it. I strongly believe that getting your hands dirty and getting into the process of developing your knowledge in something really does help later down the line, because then you can step back and just be like, okay, cool, I know you need to be finding me 2 gigs in a month or 4 gigs in a month. I know you have the capability to do it, because I was able to do it, and that wasn't even my primary focus. So I definitely do believe that. In terms of record labels, I think there's a space for them. I really do believe that there's a space for them. You as an independent artist can definitely work the system without a record label up to a certain extent, just with a whole lot more difficulty. If you can get beyond that little, that initial difficulty, you can definitely work the system. You can definitely work the system well. So, for an example, acquiring funding. It's a massive thing that people always struggle with. They struggle to get into studio. They struggle to, market themselves and put out, Facebook ads and that type of thing. Finding funding is not the most. It's something that is within quite a few artists' reach. Another thing would then be something along the lines of finding someone decent to record, mix, and master their work. Record labels do usually have a recording studio that they prefer to work with. But with all of the indie studios popping up like this one here, you can definitely get a really, really solid product without having to go via a record label. I think one place where record labels really do exceed is with regards to rollouts, and rollouts will always need some kind of a network, right? So they know people in radio, they'll know people just because the team will be so strong and because they'll have so much going for them in terms of what they're investing in you, how strong their budgets are to push for radio and all these other things. They're able to their promotion arm is so strong, their marketing arm is so strong that it's not something that you're just going to easily get as an independent artist. What you're going to get as an independent artist that's going to be quite easy is going to be you being able to put out loads of content without necessarily having to run it by a whole marketing team or an entire, the entire record label team, whoever it is that you are communicating with. You have more authority over that, but it's going to be more responsibility placed on you in terms of actually waking up and saying, I'm going to shoot 3 videos today, 3 videos of me interacting in studio, and I'm going to get them edited with whoever it is that I need to speak to, and then from there I'm going to get it out there. So the work is heavy in terms of what is given to the independent artist, but at the end of the day, once the record deal is done, that independent artist has carved out a way of getting something done. Whereas the person who's on the record contract, if they've got no experience doing that thing, when they get out and they want to start putting videos out again of themselves interacting in the studio, they won't have those networks. They'll have to go and find them, create them, and then use them. And that can take time in itself. So I definitely do believe that there is a space for record companies. I still do feel like in terms of independence, that it is quite important. I do believe that if you can thrive even just a little bit in terms of independent, in terms of your independence, run with it and try and stay as independent as you can for as long as possible. The other thing that I would say is in terms of the conversation of the contract, it's not as the recording contract, it's not as easy and straightforward. People say things like, I want to do things, but I'm going to do them on my terms within your record label. It's not always that easy. These are very, very powerful companies, and they also have legal teams working with them who then will also, dictate the process to say, this is what we're happy to offer you. And that whole thing of trying to deal with legal jargon, I try not get involved with any of that, but the whole thing with trying to deal with legal jargon is just, it's a mess for an independent artist to look over. So that's also another reason why I don't feel so good about record labels. I always believe that a recording contract should be judged, individually. We can't just say all deals are bad, and then we can't also just assume that all artists will fight for the best deal that they can get. Sometimes an artist just needs a foot in the door. They just want to get their stuff on TV. They don't care whether they're being screwed over or not. They just want some kind of exposure. So I also need to acknowledge that fact that sometimes they're okay with it. You might be okay with it, and then later down the line, you're more than happy to, scrounge for a better deal at a later stage, or look for a better deal at a later stage. So, that's pretty much my viewpoint on record labels and recording contracts. I believe they've got a space, but as far as possible, try and hold off and be as independent as you can for as long as you can. Peace.